So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. That is, my name is Mohammad Arif. So I am working as a web designer, a tutor, as come as even web designer in the Web Trainings Academy.
Okay.
Okay, I've been into this field for more than 5 years now. Okay, into both
Oh,
teaching as well as even live projects I'll be doing.
okay.
Okay. So today, just as a part of this demo session, so I just like to go through a basic options like what is this web designing and what are we going to learn through this course.
Okay.
So first of all, generally speaking, so we say web designing. So if we ask anyone, so general answer would be what is web designing in the sense that would be something like just designing a website. But
Exactly.
for what purpose and why a website is required in the sense, general and the best simple option is that we require a website for global advertisement.
Okay.
Because as a company or an organization, if I'm starting up, if I want to spread complete information about my organization around the world, wherein I can provide the services around the world, then the best and simple option is creating a website and putting it online so that any user sitting around the world can just go through this website. Whatever the content, what is this organization, what services they provide, so everything will be displayed on the internet. So
Okay.
in general, specifically, if you want to define this web designing in the sense, we can just simply define as there is nothing but presenting the content or information on the internet online for any business or organization in the form of a website. Okay, this website, generally when we say website in the sense nothing but it's a group of web pages. So as a web designer, our complete options would be designing the web pages. Now here in general, if you are speaking of web designing, when we want to put some pages on the internet, so generally the technologies that we use will be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. To display some content, HTML, to add some styling properties, CSS, and to apply some functionalities, we use JavaScript. Okay, ma'am, this is clear?
Okay. Yeah, it's clear.
Then in general, when we start up a web designing, so generally there will be a basic process. First option would be if some client has approached to us regarding a website design. So generally
Mm-hmm.
as a web designer, so the first option would be to conceptualize and research. That is, we have to take as much as information from the client. Even we call it as the client requirement analysis. That is, we try to collect as much as information from the client so that according to that we can just target the web designing web pages that we want to create. So main options that would be what would be the strategy, to whom we are going to target this, and even we have to just check out like their competitors' websites, how are they following some particular trend, or they are following some new trends or some old trends. So whatever that option is there, so we have to first check out that. Then description whether it is provided by the client or we have to do it by ourselves. Then to which audience we are targeting, whether IT professionals, urban people, or even the rural people we are targeting, because mainly the target will be for the urban people as well as rural people. Like if in common we want to just check out, then in that case this will be useful for us designing the pages which should be compatible with all the browsers.
Mm-hmm.
Because the professional people, if you are targeting, then generally everyone will use the latest versions, and most preferable will be Google Chrome, or at least Firefox will be there. So whatever we design, that would be best suited, like latest trends whatever we follow, so everything will be suited in those browsers. But when we go with some people who may be rural, in that case they may be using some internet explorer. So if you are following some latest trends, so that may not be compatible with internet explorer. So we have to use some coding in such a way that it should be compatible with all the browsers. So because even we have to take into consideration to whom we are targeting, so that according to that we have to start up designing. Then what is the content that is being provided, because based on the content itself, complete structure, design of the web page will be decided. Then we'll be having some resources, whether they are providing some images, logo, and all those options. Then what will be the preference colors and everything. So as much as possible we try to collect the information from the client. Then once we get the information client, the next process would be to create and organize the content. That is nothing but creating the structure. So how we want to put up, how we want to display, what content we want to display in what pages, because here mainly we'll be defining the pages, like it may be home, about us, services, blog, portfolio, gallery, all these options. So depending on the content what is provided, so we'll be just trying to categorize them. Now, once we have complete information, we know what pages to be designed, what is the content available. Then according to that, we have to just go for the third step will be the main step. That is, we start up with the designing. Nothing but we want to start up creating the pages. Now here it depends whether we want to design the pages directly by using HTML, CSS or by using the Photoshop software. It depends. Preference would be, so if already some reference is given, then we can start up with HTML, CSS. Otherwise, in general, what we do is we go with the Photoshop software. That would be much easier just to have a complete idea of a layout. So once the layout is ready, then we can start up designing in the HTML. That is for a web page. So this step would be, that is the third step after complete doing the research, we start up designing the pages. Now, once we design the complete pages, that is different web pages we design, then we interlink with each other. That is nothing but generally we say menu. So on the top we find menu. So whenever you click on a particular menu, some different page will be opening. So if we want, when we link up, so that complete is nothing but a website. And when we design a website, the fourth step would be testing. That is nothing but whether the content is getting displayed in all the browsers or not, whether the images are exactly displayed or as of what we have shown or not. And the main option would be the browsers testing, because now we have responsive latest trends. We are using CSS3, HTML5 elements we are using. So some elements may or may not be compatible with the browsers. There will be an alternative. So even we have to check out which element is working. If it is not working, then what is the alternative that we are going to give? Then once everything designing is done, then testing is done, everything is fine in all the browsers, everything is done. Then the final step would be to launch the website. So to launch a website, that is we want to display it online, there will be two steps. That is one, we have to purchase a domain name, and then we have to purchase some space on the server, nothing but hosting. So once we upload the files on the hosting server and link up with the domain, then when the user will type the domain name, so complete website will be displayed. Okay, so this will be the general process of web designing. So where we will be targeting main in the sense in our course will be the third step, that is the develop look and feel. Nothing but developing the pages. We want to create some pages. Once the pages are created, then the fourth step will be just directly to test it. Because generally while designing itself, almost we'll be knowing the properties, like whatever we take up the elements, so that will be just displaying that. And then final step would be domain and hosting. Are you getting this, man?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, when we are speaking of this websites, so generally there will be three types of websites. Basically speaking, two types, that is static and dynamic. One option would be like a static website itself, but consisting of a dynamic page. So generally we say static website or dynamic website. Static website with the dynamic page is just a basic option, common option. That is nothing but only one or two pages may be dynamic. So if you are speaking of static websites, so general option, this is nothing but in simple terms. In simple terms, if I want to define what the static website, this is something like just displaying the content, only information about the organization, nothing like a user interaction with the client. Like it only displays the information. So if the user is typing some URL, so I'll just go through this. So this is one website wherein this is complete static. If you can just check out all the pages, it is just displaying the information about their services and everything. So if I want to get in touch with them, even in the contact us, they are just providing the information about the contact. So either I have to go through phone number, call through phone, or I have to directly visit their place or through email. But there is nothing like provide like inquiry forms wherein directly I can online I can interact with the client. Nothing of that type. Okay, this is exact complete static website wherein we want to just display only information. And in general, so even if we want to edit this content, so this content has to be manually edited. We have to manually edit this. There won't be anything like automatic updates, because in general, like a dynamic in the sense, simple example, we can go with the posts, blogs, wherein as soon as some user will type the comment, that will be just directly updated in the website. So here there won't be any automatic updates. It's just basic option, that is displaying the content. Functionalities may be there, that is it may be just something like a responsive menu, or it may be some sliders, galleries, but still that is just displaying the information, nothing with the interaction with the users and the clients. Okay, this is complete displaying the information. That is nothing but, in general, we can say it as a static website. And also it will have some limited number of pages, like we can say home, about services, so we can just count, like it may be 10, 15, whatever the options. So it will have some number of pages. There won't be any frequent modifications, like we have to manually update. So, and in general, we won't be updating on a regular basis, like daily or something. So we'll just keep some time, like it may be 3 months or 6 months, at once we'll be completely updating the content. And here for a static website, so complete technologies that we use will be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So as a web designer, we can be able to create a complete static website.
Okay.
Whereas dynamic in the sense, this will be completely dealing with the database. Logic in the sense, nothing but PHP, ASP, some basic scripting part will be there, wherein they want to connect this HTML page with the database. So they'll be using some different script languages. So that comes under a dynamic websites. So generally this will be done by the developers, and it may consist of multiple number of pages. Like a general option e-commerce websites, if something like online shopping is there, so we can't exactly say how many number of pages are there, because it depends on different products. Each product again will have some sub products. Again, those will be individual pages. It may be 100 pages. As soon as some products are added, again some number of pages will be increasing. So they're completely, that will be automatic updates. Okay, so that complete, like e-commerce websites or job portals, all this comes under dynamic. So wherever you find something like a number of pages, more number of pages are there, and complete dynamic oriented, like login, sign in, sign up, register option is there. So that means to say it's a dynamic website. This will be completely dealt with the developers. And for this, generally, we need to have a knowledge of PHP, ASP, MySQL, .NET, all those scripting part. And then a general option, like a static website with a dynamic page, in the sense, complete website will be a static. Somewhere like one page, if it is something like appointments, or it's something like contact form, so in the contact we'll be generally finding some forms, wherein as soon as the user will type the forms fields, and when he clicks on submit, so that particular information should be stored in a particular database, or should be sent to the client. So in that case, that is complete static website. That is, all the pages will have displaying only the information, but maybe one or two pages, like within this website. So generally, this will be just displaying complete information about this clinic and everything, like who works and all these options. There will be one single page. That is nothing but there will be something like appointments. That only page is dynamic. The rest of the pages will be static.
Okay.
So in general, in this case, sometimes we'll be requiring a PHP file. As a designer, we can just, that is already built in PHP file will be there. If we want to send that data that is used by the user, that is sent by the user to directly email of the client, then as a web designer, we can do it ourselves, like just filling up the form, and just we want to send this. So when the user will click on submit, so it should be sent. This complete information should be sent to the owner email ID. So we can just attach one PHP file and we can send it. Sometimes whatever the information the user will do. So if they want to attach some database, then here a developer is required. But otherwise, the rest of the pages is completely done by the designer. That is complete static website, only with one or two pages dynamic. Yes, but main options will be static and dynamic. Static completely dealt with the web designer, dynamic dealt by the developers. So generally speaking, websites, we can categorize them into two. And then coming to responsive web designing, because now complete trend is responsive. Because generally, all the surveys and everything defines that almost more than 60 to 70% people are depending only on the mobiles to search whatever the products are required, whatever shopping or whatever they require. So they go for online shopping or whatever the information is required completely on the mobiles. Some look for tabs. So it depends whether the user is checking out the website on the mobile, checking out the website on the desktop, checking out the website on the tabs, laptops. So the website will be same, but the thing is it should change its orientation. That is nothing but it should change its behavior based on the device which it is viewed. So generally categorizing, we will be categorizing them as desktop, laptop, tabs, and mobiles. So website will be single, that is the pages whatever we create will be only once we will be creating. But when we check out in different devices, the design, the orientation will be changing. Like suppose here, if you can observe, so generally there will be some logo towards left and right side, you can see some menu. So this is horizontal menu. And the content is just normally displayed side by side. Everything is displayed. And even in the footer, you can see 4 blocks are displayed side by side. But as soon as I just reduce the browser, now you can see everything is displayed one by one. And even you can see logo and the menu is converted into a vertical.
Yeah.
So this now this is a responsive website because it is just changing the orientation. It is changing its behavior as soon as we reduce the browser width. Generally speaking, we say based on the devices. So device is nothing but here to test. We can just simply increase or decrease the browser widths, because ultimately when you view some website on a device, so generally there should be some browser. So in general, responsive is nothing but the page changes its behavior according to the browser width, whatever the width is defined. Within that width, how it should act, that will be the basic concept in responsive. Because generally if I'm going with a normal website, and if this particular page, if this particular content is displaying from left to right, around 900 pixels, no user will be interested to read each and every line by scrolling from left to right. Instead of that, so if we are putting something like this, so just once we scroll like this, so we can just be able to read the whole content. But no one will be interested to read by scrolling from left to right, because one line you have to read, again come back, again second line. You have to just scroll to right and then go on. So generally nowadays that is not preferable. So complete responsive trend, that is whatever the pages we start up to design, that should be a responsive page and group of pages, nothing but a website. And even marketing wise, because the main concepts today will be the marketing, like digital marketing. Just creating a website is not enough, but even marketing is also required. So marketing point of view also, it will have a good rank if it is a responsive web design website. So that is why in general, today trend is complete responsive web sites. And generally responsive in the sense nothing but creating a site in such a way that it should respond to the device in which it is viewed. The behavior environment should be changing. It should be responding according to the screen size, which device it is displaying. And generally, when we learn the web designing, so main option will be to create responsive websites. And generally here only three basic concepts will be there. It will be same as of normal web designing, how we do. The only thing is we have to just follow three concepts. That is nothing but flexible grids, whatever the structure we do. So maybe 3 blocks may be displayed side by side on a desktop. But as soon as it comes to mobile, it should display one by one. So the grids should be flexible, images should be flexible. Even if we view the image on the desktop, it should be full screen. As soon as we view in the mobile, even then the image width should be reduced and it should be displayed full. on the mobiles. That is, the images should be flexible, and generally there should be some change in the design. Like when we view in the desktop, it may be something red color or some font size. As soon as it goes to mobile, it should change some different font size, some different color. So generally that will be done with the use of media queries. So this will be just as a common web designing itself, but the main thing is just we'll be going with using the concepts like flexible grids, images, and media queries. So our main option, responsive, that is nothing but designing a website in such a way that it should respond. The behavior should change according to the devices in which it is viewed. That is a different browser widths, different designs. And it's not completely different, the same website, only the orientation. That is nothing but structure and everything will be changed. And then generally speaking, when we say website, so when we upload a website, so how will that work in the sense? So here you can see the first step when we just upload it on online. So it will just go through modem and then it will be connecting to the internet service providers. And then the main option will be the domain name server, wherein we'll be registering a domain name where we have given the domain name. And that domain name should be connected to the server. So this will be like here it will go to internet service provider, that is from where we have taken the hosting server. It will just connect to the server, because within the server is a space. Server is a space where we store the files. So all those files will be again getting back and displayed it on the site. So generally speaking, like as soon as we type a URL name, the first step will be it should connect to the internet service provider. That is nothing but mainly by using the IP address. It will connect to the domain name server. Then to that domain name server, whatever the server hosting server is connected, within that whatever the files are displayed, all those files will be displayed. So generally that will be the working. So best would be once we understand like what is this domain. So generally once we create a website, so as generally speaking we say web designing, that is nothing but creating a website, and the main option will be to display the information online. So now once we want to display anything online, the first thing is we require to register ourselves on the internet. Registering ourselves on the internet is nothing but we need to purchase an IP address. We need to have an IP address to display something on the internet. So yeah, the first thing when we design the website and when we want to put it online would be to purchase a domain name. So generally speaking, we say domain name, that is nothing but we say like www.webtrainings.in. But in general, that is nothing but purchasing a domain name, because we can't remember all those IP address and all those things. So generally, the simple option would be to give a name. So we said purchasing a domain name, but backend will be an IP address will be assigned to that particular domain name. So once we take the domain name, then the next option would be to connect the domain name server. That is whatever the domain we have taken. To that domain, we need to connect the host. Domain, it's just giving a name. That is nothing but we want to take some IP address. Hosting, it is just a space on the server where we store our website. Like whatever the pages we design in our system, the next step should be we have to upload it on the server. We have to put all these files on the server so that that particular server will be connected to the domain name. That is by using the domain name server. So there will be two server names, hosting server names, that we have to just input in the domain. So automatically now when the user will type the domain name, by using the HTTP, that is hypertext transfer protocol, it will check out what is the IP address. To this IP address, what is the hosting server connected? Then within that hosting server, what are the files that are stored? Then according to that, the site will be displayed. So generally, this will be the process, backend complete online process in the sense. Main thing would be first the domain name. As soon as the user will type the domain name, it will just connect to check out what is the IP address. Then it will connect to that IP address, whatever the hosting server is attached. Then within that server, whatever the files are attached, those files will be displayed. So this will be the general process. So here, by the end of our course, we'll be learning like what is this domain, how we register, and then what is this hosting, how we upload the files, and how we are going to connect this domain and hosting servers. So generally, I'll be showing you live all this process. So overall, like generally web designing, it is completely, we said, designing the website, nothing but designing different pages. So here, like a process includes first collecting the information, then we want to start up designing. Now, in the designing, in the sense, so generally this may be first we may go with a layout design. Layout design, that is nothing but we want to just create a rough sketch of how exactly that particular layout should look when we design it online, or simply when we design it by using HTML, CSS. So I can just show you a simple example. So here in the layout designing, one option we can directly go with the designing it graphically. That is by using the Photoshop software. As this is a pixel-based software, and because the layout what we view, even that will be in the dimension that is on the screen when we view. This will be in the units of pixels. So we'll be just checking out this. So here you can see completely we'll be just designing the basic options, how we want to go with the top section, then how we want to go with the banner, how we want to display the content part. So let's complete structure, because once we have an idea of this structure, then designing it in a web page that is using HTML, CSS, that will be much easier. So in general, what it is, first we'll be learning the Photoshop software, wherein we learn different tools, whatever the tools are there. So using those tools, how we are going to create the layouts,
Okay.
so that even while showing to the client, so this will be much easier. So even suppose if I want to just change this, then in there itself, I can just change the color and I can show the clients. If the client doesn't require some block, then in there itself, I can just remove some images. I can just show to the client. In general, when we start up with the directly HTML, CSS, we have to write up the CSS properties. Then the client, if he's not satisfied, we have to remove that. Again, we have to add up some new CSS properties. A little bit long process. Here, this would be easier because we'll be completely using the tools, and by using the tools, we'll be designing the layout. So that once we show the client, if the client is completely satisfied with the whole design, then we start up using the HTML, CSS. Because here we'll be having a complete idea of what will be this image, what will be the color of the text, what will be the size of the text. Here you can see what will be the font family, font size, everything will be having an idea. So that building up in HTML, CSS would be much easier. So this would be the first step in learning web designing. That is nothing but how to create the layouts by using the Photoshop software. We'll be learning the tools, then using the tools, we'll be creating some layouts. Then once we have designed the layout, then the next step would be to learn HTML and CSS. So generally, when we say HTML, HTML is nothing but we'll be using the tags to display the content on the browser. So whatever the content we want to display, it may be different form. It may be text in the form of headings. It may be text in the form of paragraphs. It may be text in the form of some other options like lists or hyperlinks we want to define. So there will be some different tags. Ultimately, we want to display the content, but with the help of tags, we'll be displaying the content. I may want to display some block. I may want to display some image. I may want to display some video. So to display that on the browser, so directly we can't type the text. It's by using the HTML, that is hypertext markup language. To display the mainly to display the content using the tag. So here we'll be checking out what are different tags, for what purpose we use the tags, and using the tags, what will be the output once we use those tags. So how will be the output? So there are two options. HTML4, that is a basic options like content tags, structural tags will be there. So we'll be using those options at the same time. Even HTML5, that is nothing but updated version of HTML4. Everything, most of them will be using the HTML4 elements at the same time. if required, some new elements have been introduced, some new tags have been included. So wherever required, so we'll be just using those HTML5 new tags. Okay, it's the same, everything is same, only that some new tags are included in HTML5. So we'll be when we start up designing the pages, even we'll be using the HTML5 tags. Then CSS is cascade style sheet. That is nothing but we want to apply. So generally by using the HTML, we'll be displaying the content on the browser. Once we display the content, that would be just a normal content, like it may heading in the sense little bit bigger size, and normal text black color will be there. But we may want to have some underline, we may want to display some color, we may want to display some different font size, different font family. So all those properties, whatever we add, are nothing but the CSS. First thing we need to display is the content, that is by using HTML. Once the content is displayed, to that content, nothing but we'll be targeting the particular HTML element by using the CSS properties. So here we'll be learning some different CSS properties. CSS2 again, that will be the common properties we'll be using. At the same time, we'll be using the same properties, but at the same time again some new properties, like for animations, shadow effects, different backgrounds, some new properties will be included in CSS. So we'll be learning like what are the properties in the CSS2, then what are the properties in CSS3. So complete this will be our practical oriented sessions, like I'll be showing you live how we use the tags and what for what purpose we use the tags and what will be the output, then what will be the properties. So if we apply that particular property, what will be the output. So this will be completely learning HTML CSS. Once we learn HTML CSS, so initially we'll be going through Notepad. That is just because practicing will be important here. So once or twice you type HTML or CSS code in the Notepad, so we'll be remembering all the tags and properties. Once we are perfect with this, then the next step would be Dreamweaver, using the Dreamweaver software. So this is something like all the combinations like HTML, CSS, everything will be already embedded in the software. To create a website, this will be good software wherein collecting the images, collecting the content, applying the properties and everything will be much easier rather than using the Notepad complete manually we have to do. Here most of the things will be automatically done, that is within this itself it will be embedded. So we will be using the Dreamweaver software later on once we learn complete HTML and CSS. So how to use this software? Then by using this software, first how we create a page, then once we create the page, then how we are going to create the sub pages and link up with the main. So by this topics, that once we complete this topic, so we'll be completely learning how to design a website. Here, this will be a basic website, general website. But once we know how to design a website, then the next step would be how to make this website a responsive website. Because like I said, response in the sense only it's a concept, flexible grids, flexible images and media queries. But what technology we use in the sense that will be complete again HTML and CSS. Functional device will be using the JavaScript, like mainly for form validations we'll be learning like JavaScript code, how to write the code, what is this JavaScript and everything. But the main option we'll be using will be the jQuery. These are something like built-in plugins. Already some animation will be defined. So we need to just check out like what how that animation, like it may be some slider. So if I want to apply the same option to a particular HTML element, then I'll be just going using the jQuery plugin. So in generally speaking, jQuery is nothing but a JavaScript library wherein we'll be just using the plugins, different plugins, and embed it into our web page. So this will be the course where we'll be learning completely about the plugins. Different plugins will be there. So how we are going to embed that into our page. And then finally would be the Flash. But Flash in general nowadays, it's not useful, because I guess even the Chrome has stopped working the Flash player. They are using only HTML5 players. So HTML Flash videos may or may not play. Still we have to get the confirmation, but still the Flash is not getting used most of the days, because the general option, like if I require a slider, I'll be depending on the jQuery plugin. Initially this jQuery plugins were not that frequent, so at that time simple animation if I require, like the images should slide from left to right one after the other, so simple option was using the Flash software. But now, because almost advanced techniques in the jQuery and almost whatever is required completely is available in the jQuery, and even some basic animation directly by CSS3 we can define, and also some online, many online softwares will be available. So in general, this Flash usage of Flash is reduced in the web. But still, we'll be learning like how to use this software, and by using this softwares, what animations will be defined. Because this will be complete curriculum of the course. Like first layout designing, then learning the HTML and CSS, that is both HTML4, HTML5, then CSS properties, that is the CSS2 and CSS3 properties. Then using all this, we need to create a page. Then from a page, that is the first home page when we create, then we need to create the sub pages, then linking up, that is complete creating a website. Once the website is ready, so by while creating the website, even we need to take care of the responsive concepts, so that whenever we start up designing, so directly we can start up with a responsive website. Then in general, this will be complete static, and to this HTML element some basic functionality, like it may be some slider gallery. When the user will click on a particular image, it should display its bigger size image. So all this will be by using the jQuery plugins. And if a basic form is there, so we want to just add up some validation point of view. That is, if the fields should not be blank, it should have some minimum number of characters, maximum characters. So all those messages needs to be displayed. So we can directly go with using the JavaScript code. Okay, ma'am. So this will
Yeah.
be complete curriculum. Like throughout our course, we'll be learning these options.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. So you have any doubts?
Exactly. In other countries, they're asking for the Angular JS. I think no
But
Node.js.
yeah, but we have not yet started that, because
Okay.
here still it's just something like coming up, but not yet much demand for that.
Okay.
So presently we are not going with the Angular JavaScript. Maybe in the
Okay.
future we'll be including that,
Oh, thank you.
but otherwise this will be our complete curriculum.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
still any details you require, you can call our admin.
Yeah. Definitely. Sure.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you for listening this demo.